嗨，大家好，欢迎来 Welcome to Taiwan。今天我们跑去到台北，跟我们纽西兰朋友聊天。影片开始以前，请不要忘记订阅、按赞、开启小铃铛，谢谢大家。
Well, I'll kind of answer it in a mixed up kind of way because actually I'm from New Zealand and I'm part Maori. So in Maori culture, when you introduce yourself, your name comes last. So in where I come from, you introduce yourself by the way of the natural features of your landscape, the culture that you represent, and your ancestors. So for me, I would start a speech with, in a formal meeting, I'm from Taranaki, which is a part of New Zealand. It looks like Mount Fuji from Japan. And in fact, when they made the movie The Last Samurai, they filmed most of it where I'm from, because of the mountain looking like Japan's mountain, and also because it's non-industrial, because where I'm from is very rural. Japan's changed over the years, so they found it too hard to film in Japan because of all the buildings and the development. So they did the filming of that movie with Tom Cruise in New Zealand. And the river formation that I refer to is called Waitara, the Waitara River. And then I would refer to my meeting house, which is Owai, and then my tribe, which is called Ngatiawa. So I'm from the Ngatiawa tribe, and my sub-tribe, which is really my family and my cousins, is called Manukorihi. And then I would refer to my ancestor. My famous ancestor is a man called Wirumukingi Tarangatake. And then at the end, I would say, my name is Bernie Moa. And then they would go, oh, exactly, we know your family, you know. And actually my name is Bernard Malcolm Rua Timoti Moa. My parents weren't very creative. Bernard is actually the name of the doctor that delivered me. So Dr. Bernard was the person who delivered me. And Malcolm was actually the nurse that was there as well. So I got a doctor's name and a nurse's name. And my Māori name is Rua Timoti, which is one of my brother's names. And my surname is Moa. Yeah, and that comes from my father's side. And they were settlers from the Irish. Maybe came in the late 1860s.
Some of these names that you've mentioned, they kind of sound Japanese. Do you guys have any connection to Japanese?
Not really, but the Maori vowel sounds are very similar to the Japanese vowel sounds, and the R is a little bit similar when they speak. Yeah, so when you speak Maori, it does sound Japanese, and when Japanese learn to speak Maori, it's pretty close.
The indigenous community, what are some of the difficulties do you think Aboriginals are facing here in Taiwan? Because they're Taiwanese. So what's the difference between them and any other Taiwanese?
Not to be too critical, but when it comes to Aboriginal rights in most countries, when there's been settlement or colonization, the indigenous folks tend to be left or living in the outskirts of the countryside or in the remote areas. So there's not much interaction between them and the later populations that come in. So like similar to New Zealand, their languages are being swamped by the colonial language. Like here they have Mandarin and Taiwanese. Back in the former days it was Japanese. So they've had a difficult time maintaining their language and their culture. So those are some of the main things that are difficult for an indigenous population here.
So what do you think Taiwan can do to protect this indigenous community?
Well, I kind of suggest that the indigenous communities become more open to having tourists from the cities coming out to see and interacting, seeing how things operate there, how they live, their language, their culture, like perhaps how they make their food, how they dress, what they do in their daily life, to see the difference and also appreciate it, you know, because not everybody wants to be living in the city and living as a modern day person.
You were once a soldier back in New Zealand.
That's right.
So being in the military with the experience, what's your take on Iran issue?
Since leaving the army, I've actually become a pacifist. I'm not really a person that gets a thrill out of hearing about war. I prefer that they don't happen. Yeah. And I have friends from Iran who actually approve of the situation going on now. But as a pacifist, I'm not really into hearing about people being killed because, in my opinion, war should be between soldiers and military facilities. And from what I'm hearing, a lot of the bombing, it's civilians being killed, and that's not true warfare.
And being in Taiwan with this China-Taiwan tension going on, is there any fear that foreigners should have in staying in Taiwan?
I look at the situation quite often, and although Taiwan is prepared and they do a lot to make sure that their armaments are up to date, also China is kind of doing what they can to make things uneasy between the two nations. But the issue, I think, is probably a little difficult for one country to start something. So I kind of believe right now nothing's going to happen for quite a while.
And you think Taiwan is prepared in case something happens to defend itself?
Technologically, they're prepared. They have the equipment. And as far as the soldiery is concerned, I'm not too certain because the reserve forces are not as well trained as I think they should be. Yeah.
Any military advice or suggestion as a experienced personnel?
I would say defense is probably the best thing for Taiwan to do, and that would be like underwater detection, also sea mines and stuff like that, and also drones. So, so being a pacifist, I don't really like talking about it, but yeah, that's what I would recommend for the safety of people here in Taiwan.
Okay. And how would you compare life in Taiwan compared to life in your country, the difference in the way of life?
Taiwan is an Asian country, so there's a different aspect of how they view things. Education is paramount for a lot of families, for their children, and there's a big focus on investing in their children for education when it comes to schooling, after school activities, and skills on the weekend as well. So New Zealand, maybe not so many families would do that kind of input with their investment on their money. New Zealand's lifestyle is a bit more laid back. After school is generally for children, they go home, they do some work, their homework at home, and then they've got free time. For adults, the working lifestyle, your employer actually probably encourages you, if you have a child, to take as much leave as possible. I think it's like 26 weeks for maternity or paternity leave. Here in Taiwan, I think it's 8 weeks, and you're lucky to get that much if your employer lets you to take it.
And what's your most difficult challenge that you've overcome or yet to overcome?
Oh, I found after about 2 or 3 years here in Taiwan, I was just working and going home. My mood changed, and my wife noticed, and I discovered that I needed actually to get out and do things. Okay. So there's a thing called the third space. That's when you're not working and when you're not at home. And luckily for me, I had a guy that I worked with, and he encouraged me to go and join the rugby club. And that was my third space. So being able to run around, burn off some steam, speak like how a man would speak with other men, it was great. It gave me a chance to vent, or let people know what was going on, and ask for help. And for me, that was probably a success, because during that period, my father actually called me from New Zealand and say, "What's going on?" And I didn't realize my mood had changed so badly. And since joining the rugby club, I've really enjoyed it, and I've gotten more involved in the community. I've done coaching. I volunteer at different places. I help out with community events. I'm a member of the POW Society. I also joined another group called the Moth, which is a former soldier group, a Commonwealth soldier group, and we have events, and we're a support network for each other. So since joining the rugby club, it's branched out into a lot more things. And I've also started my company from joining the rugby club. The culture shock, I think. I had a bit of culture shock. So going to markets where everyone's very loud and it's noisy and crowded and hot, I didn't enjoy that for the first couple of weeks when I was here. When I got here in 2002, Taipei 101 was probably 30 stories high, and a few years later they'd completed it. When I first moved to Shini district, there was a lot of farmland, even out in front of Taipei 101, and so that has changed. The government's changed several times. The Taiwanese people are they really back democracy, and it was refreshing to me to see, because in New Zealand people are quite passive, and to see the energy and the fervor that people put into backing their candidates, marching around the street, waving their flags. It's probably helped with building the unity. Even though there is division, they do back the democracy.
Why should someone choose to come to Taiwan?
Taiwan is a beautiful place, as everybody knows. It's a great place to start business. It's very modern. If you have any problems with your illness or whatever, there's fantastic hospitals here. The culture here is varied because of all the different waves of colonization when it comes to, like, as far back as Fujian, people coming over here and bringing the Taiwanese language. And all the time, the Yinjuming people are here, always been here. So if you're into learning about history or indigenous peoples, looking at the scenery, there's so many amazing mountainscapes over here in Taiwan. It's incredible how many mountains are here. I think this is an undiscovered gem for the world. They should come and see, totally.
A founder of Asia Concept Enterprise, what made you come up with that, and what is that going to bring to Taiwanese?
Well, I'm a big rugby fan, sport of rugby, and I was talking to a friend of mine who was visiting from Australia, and we were thinking about how to improve rugby in Taiwan. And at that time, it was long before COVID days, we discovered there was going to be a big Asia Pacific rugby competition. Places like Perth in Australia, Samoa, Fiji, Malaysia, Singapore, and Japan and Hong Kong. And we thought we could probably get a team here in Taiwan. So we decided we're going to try and make a play to get a franchise here in Taiwan to be in this big competition and win it. So it built up from there. So to get that operating, I had to create Asia Concept Enterprises.
And Taiwanese are not too much into physical contact activities. How is it challenging to be able to get Taiwanese to join this activity or to participate in such activities?
Well, there is quite a big, not a big base, but there is a strong base of players in Taiwan. There's junior high players, there's senior high players, there's university players, and there's also club players, which are men, and also like retired gentlemen play on Sundays. If you go to the parks on Sunday, you'll see people playing. You'll probably see me playing on a Sunday afternoon with the older people. So yeah, it is difficult to promote it because of the big sports of baseball and basketball here in Taiwan. But actually, the history of rugby is quite long. It started here back in the late 1890s when the Japanese were here, and they introduced rugby to the local communities, and it was actually played for a very long time at a high level. And actually, during the 1950s, it was the inter-military sport or inter-services sport. So the Navy played the Air Force, played the police, and it was a very big sport in Taiwan. And then come the time of the Asian dragons, when people moved into the cities and they went to work in manufacturing. The rugby following kind of fell away because people moved to the cities, there's less space. Yeah. They took up baseball and basketball. Yeah. But in the rural communities, you'll still see some clubs as well still operating.
What has Taiwan taught you during this period?
Taiwan's taught me not to fear, not to fear opportunity. Go for it, The barriers as a foreigner sometimes are a little bit less when it comes to introducing yourself to different parts of the society, because you probably know stuff or you have contacts that a lot of local people wouldn't have opportunity to have. Yeah. So I would say go for it. Whatever it is what you want to do, you can do it over here. Like when my business, starting with the rugby and then meeting people from overseas and bringing them over here, getting the name out, because right now I've got an opportunity to bring over the All Black clinics. Now the All Blacks are pretty famous when it comes to rugby, and I've been dealing with them. So I'm going to bring over an All Black clinic to Taiwan in August. They'll be training about 100 students and teaching them how to become professional sports people. Focus on rugby, but also just whatever, because when it comes to professionalism in sport, there's a certain mindset.
Yeah.
And the All Blacks are famous for having that. And they're willing to come over here and impart that with the local rugby players. And hopefully they can get into careers playing rugby, either here in Taiwan. Hopefully we'll have a professional league soon. But there's also professional leagues in Japan. We have Taiwanese players playing over there, earning money. And also the opportunity to go to maybe learn in New Zealand or Australia, be part of the competition there, or even in Europe, France, England.
Okay, anyone wanted to learn rugby, being old, young, you have a child, just his links will be in the description below. Get in touch. Do you have anything else to tell Taiwanese people?
Having the work-lifestyle balance with parents better arranged. Getting time with your kids, spending time after work, maybe going to the beach instead of working till 9 p.m. Finishing at 4, driving to the beach, spend a couple hours there, and then coming back home for your dinner or whatever. Just having time during the week as well, having some work-life balance. Because though we have opportunity to play, and play is how children learn rules, social rules, and they can create rules between themselves, and then they learn to operate within those rules in little groups. Whereas a lot of children here are quite passive when it comes to how things operate because they don't know the rules, so they're very observant, but they're not participative. So I think getting time to play is undervalued over here in Taiwan for children. It's a really good tool for self-development. Like Taiwan, New Zealand is famous. New Zealand is famous because of our sporting heritage, our beauty and our nature. Taiwan is a beautiful country too, has amazing nature, but Taiwan has an excellence in terms of manufacturing. They have a great history of like developing businesses such as TSMC, NVIDIA, from small things. And when it comes to Taiwan, compared to like countries like Korea, everybody was encouraged to become an entrepreneur. And I found this to be quite an amazing thing to see, because you see a lot of Taiwanese people, somebody in their family has opened a restaurant somewhere once in their life, and or an uncle or an aunt or grandparent owned a factory. Yeah, so I think that the entrepreneurial spirit of the Taiwanese is amazing, and it's probably influenced me as well when it comes to opening my business. I had a friend come here back in the 1980s. He was living in Italy, and there were some amazing light fittings that he was selling, his boss was selling in Italy, and his boss sent him to Taiwan to come and look at how the process was done and meet the owner of the factory. And my friend said when he got to the Taipei, he was driven out to the back of Taipei County, and there was like a little shed with a couple of workers just tinkering away, and it was nothing what he expected. It was the Taiwanese entrepreneurial spirit. They were manufacturing these amazing materials and selling them at high-end prices in faraway places.
Thank you very much for giving us your time and sharing your life experience living in Taiwan. And hope you continue to enjoy your stay here in Taiwan.
Thank you very much, Boise.
Thank you. Gansie ni sokan yo sihuan bu sihuan. Please don't forget to click on that subscription button, like the video, help us share if you can. And don't forget to send in your super likes or super thanks to help support the channel. Thank you, and see you in my next video.